Good morning from the office. This is GGM sitting in for BKP, who's off on an assignment down in the Marietta area to listen to Newt Gingrich talk. And so we'll get a good report on him tomorrow. He was going on about Hillary Clinton, and we should. She should be the object of our discussions now, and I want to add a few sidebars to it. One of the things I heard on the radio this morning on a talk show was, well, why wasn't she taken? Why didn't the Secret Service take her to a hospital? Well, because she's not a government employee anymore. She's a private citizen. She's a former government employee, a former first lady even. But she has a staff who controls everything she does. Now, to watch how to understand how that system worked in the Protective Service detail, we noted that she left that incident early, the incident being the 9/11 memorial service. She left it early because she had a medical incident. And she was standing, waiting for her car to come pick her up. Normally in the Protective Service detail, that never happens. Unless there's an incident that requires immediate service, and then an ambulance is called, and different things apply. But she was standing there waiting for that. So that was a mistake on the staff's part, not the Secret Service part. Why was she not taken to a hospital? Once again, she is not an employee. She is a private citizen, just like you and I. So she directed, or the staff did, that the woman go to Chelsea's apartment. Here's a question that hasn't been asked yet, so I will ask it now. At Chelsea's apartment, there are at least 4 people in that house. 2 of them are babies. If this woman has viral pneumonia or some form of pneumonia, why would she want to go to her daughter's apartment, experience the possibility of infecting those babies, or even her daughter Chelsea for all of that matter, or Chelsea's husband? Viral pneumonia is easily fixed. Other forms of pneumonia require convalescence. But in the end run, in the long term, I think this will provide an excuse that will negate her debating Donald Trump. She needs some reason to kill that debate promise, because Donald Trump will eat her up. She has nothing to defend except failure. And she cannot go there and defend failure on a debate stage. So there we are. Those are my takes on Hillary Clinton. I sent an email to the Clinton campaign people saying that I was sorry she's sick, and I hoped it was nothing trivial. So I want to move on to a slightly different uptake on it, and that's where I generally focus all my attention, and that's America and the position and the problem we're in now. I'm reading an essay written by a fellow named Jack Perry on the 9th. And it was published on the internet, and you can find it now also on the internet. But most people don't read these things. But this is a wonderful thing, and we're going to go through that until we arrive to the next break. Some folks are wondering what it would take for people to figure out that the United States government is already a police state. Also, what it would take for people to look beyond the police state toward a different system of government. There are some things we must consider carefully here. For example, if we were to say that we wished to create a new country, are we not then making the same mistake? Was this not how the United States government came into existence in the first place? Before anything can be done, we must examine where people are getting their ideas about government. Where do these ideas come from? Why did we lose a study of the Constitution and replace it with a study of Marxism and now Islam, the Quran and things like that? Where do these ideas come from? It comes from our education system, which we must seize as quick as we can and restructure them. The idea that some fictitious concept of government is better than the one we have now is an illusion that's going around the globe. It's called socialism, and it's been failed for 200 years. Every time it's tried, it has failed. But yet here we are still playing with that idea. That is to say, the United States saying it is the greatest nation on earth. Well, it's not the greatest nation on earth, not because we can't be or we weren't once were not the greatest nation on earth, but that's greatest nation on earth according to whom? We hear the politicians and people say it on the radio and television all the time. The U.S. government, of course, has told them that it's the greatest nation on earth because if one carefully investigates the facts, a nation that has cities with vast numbers of people sleeping on the sidewalks cannot call itself great. Save for its ability to extend military power and destroy the planet, should a military gambit fail and a last-ditch threat is required to make good on their promise that America is great, do we wish to recreate a system such as this? Of course not. That's why I end all my essays with freedom is the goal. The Constitution is the way. That's the only answer. Again, the first thing that needs to be liberated is one's own mind. As long as people are attracted to the concept of the United States, nothing whatsoever can be accomplished except departing from said country or simply ignoring it as much as possible. Most of us can't afford to depart, so we try to ignore it and go about our daily business. People are attached to the dogmas that proliferate from the U.S. government because their own egos need to be able to say again and again, I know thus and so to be true. That is, I know I am an American and live in the greatest nation on earth. I know the United States military will win the war in Iraq. I know we will defeat terrorism. I know the war on drugs can be won. However, none of these things are true. These are illusions the government creates to keep us imprisoned in the best concentration camp ever, our own minds. One cannot simply create a new state and a new economic system and suppose everything will just magically fall into place. After all, that is precisely what happened after the Russian Revolution that gave them the Soviet Union. They had the right hopes for a totally new, never-tried system that would ensure everything they dreamed of, but what happened was they dragged in all the problems from Tsarist Russia and added a few deceptions and illusions of their own and created a Potemkin country, which existed before in the Tsarist time as a Potemkin village. And to give you a little illustration, Potemkin was an army general, a Tsarist army general. And Catherine the Great, during her reign, Catherine the Great felt the need to go out into the country and communicate with the peasants. Well, the military, the government knew that things were not good in Russia. So this general, Potemkin, ordered that a nice, beautiful village be created nearby where they could take the Tsarist and Tsarina and let her talk with people. And they populated it with healthy-looking peasants. And so that was a false village. It's been called the Potemkin village concept, and it exists today. The Russians made the whole country a Potemkin country, and that's what we're talking about. The very first thing that must occur is people need to shed the concept of state, where thus and so takes place, and this and that is done for them, regardless of who or what those things are. Well, once again, we're being taught to rely on government. Hillary Clinton even said that today, or in her little basket speech that Brian Pritchard commented on, that people are worried that nobody's going to help them. She means government is not going to help them. The concept of revolution itself is as follows. A man comes, and this is just a concept, so it's easy to understand. A man comes to a river and wishes to get across. Thus, he builds himself a raft and ferries himself across the river. Upon reaching the other side, however, he says, gee, I built me a great raft. Why should I destroy it? I think I'll save it. I've spent a great deal of time constructing it, and it gives it value. It would be a waste to abandon it here on the shore. This is what I shall do. I shall now construct a cart with which to carry it along with me. Now, can this man be called wise? No, of course not. The whole mission was just to get across the river. But this man then turned it into a mission to preserve the raft he built to accomplish the mission, which was only to cross the river. Exactly the entire premise behind a revolution to install a new government. In fact, the government itself is both the raft and the cart. They become not the means to an end, but the end of itself and unto itself. The entire time is spent preserving the raft and the cart, and it is then forgotten what the reason to cross the river was for in the first place. Consider this. The American Revolution took place to supposedly provide freedom from an authoritarian government that had become oppressive with its tax schemes. But what has happened since? The United States government is far more authoritarian and has even more taxes than did the British government it replaced. We are carrying around the raft and the cart, and we have long since forgotten why we crossed the river in the first place. Thus, were we to create a new government, taking these ideas with us, we simply make the same mistakes again, because one needs people that have abandoned the need to have a government that runs things and put forth ideology and so forth. That is, once one has an ideology that needs a revolution, one has already lost the revolution, because that ideology will become a government, which then becomes a state, and the state will then engage in the usual hypocrisies they all do. It is tempting to say, if we only had thus and so take place, or this change of government, or this economic system, everything will become perfect. However, if one carefully investigates history, one can see it is littered with such utopian experiments that have failed, and we are living in one right now called the United States of America. It requires personal effort. First and foremost, the concept of state must be reevaluated, if not actually abandoned. The concept of needing a government has to be abandoned, because when one does not need a government, only then can a better community be possible. Now, that's utopian, but that's the way it works. It is true. It is that people need a government, that a government is able to control them and dole out freedom sparingly if a government is not needed, if that people are clinging to it as an expression of their own ego. Then a government has no ability to force unjust laws and taxes upon us. Americans cling stubbornly to the ego self, or I am an American, because they feel this ego self can be extended to everyone else around the world. That an American is powerless against his own government does not occur to him. Instead, he makes the mistake of thinking by forcing a different government on Syria, for example, or Iraq, is a demonstration of how much power we have. So, when we're talking about a new system, we must first sit down ourselves and begin by creating that within our own minds. The Trump phenomena is basically that. I don't know whether he really realizes or understands this concept, but Trump has brought the basket cases along, like Hillary wants us to believe, because he's the middle finger. He's the middle finger stuck up in the face of Washington politics. So I'm getting signal it's time for our break, and we'll take it now in a second or two. Go for it, Clay.
Right now at Pizza Hut, you can get any 2 medium pizzas for $6.99 each. Get any toppings, any crust flavor, anything you want for just $6.99 each. And sweeten the deal with a Hershey's Triple Chocolate Brownie for just $5.99. Only at Pizza Hut.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
I'm Sheriff Dane Kirby, and I'll stand up for you.
I'm Stacy Nicholson, Sheriff of Gilmer County, and I will stand up for you.
Stand up and speak out. No matter how rich, cool, talented you believe yourself to be, how you treat people ultimately tells all. I am Allison Sosby, District Attorney, and I'll stand up for you.
El Rey and Ellijay.
El Rey Mexican Restaurant.
Family owned and operated, and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey and Ellijay.
The summer sell down is on at Days Chevrolet in Jasper with huge savings up to 16% off MSRP. Save over $4,100 off Malibu Limited, now just $19,500. Save $9,500 on loaded Silverado Crew Cab LT, now only $38,700. Save up to 16% off MSRP on select new Chevys in stock during the summer sell down, going on now at Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East Ellijay. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Hello, America. The first ever $5 flavor menu is here, and it's a game changer. For just $5 each, you can get a medium one-topping pizza, Wing Street Wings, a Hershey's cookie, and your other Hut favorites. A Pizza Hut pizza for just $5? It's the ultimate crowd pleaser.
How are you feeling, crowd?
Very pleased, thank you.
We do what we can here.
$5 for a Pizza Hut pizza. How can we not be pleased?
Good crowd today.
The $5 flavor menu, America's best pizza deal, only at Pizza Hut.
Well, good morning and welcome back to Good Morning from the Office. This is George McClellan, and I was discoursing on a theory that I think is important for us to realize in government, why America finds itself where it's at, because we have evolved over the 200 plus years of our existence from a group of people who threw off an authoritarian state to become an authoritarian police state ourselves. We just can't see it. And this essay, I'm going to wrap it up right now, tells us why we can't see it. So when we're talking about a new system, a new government, we must first sit down and begin by creating that new system within our minds. And political philosophers do that, and schools are turning them out now with a leftist bent. We need to shed these illusions that we have been taught by the government from early childhood on. We need to see the illusions for what they are, carefully crafted deceptions and sleight of hand magic shows the government puts forth to entertain the masses, so long as people are entertained by endless wars, nonstop conflict, self-ego, perpetuation by identifying it with the state, and mindless media images and false idols, no new community is possible. Sorry, but that is the reality. We live in a nation of people currently unable to see beyond the flashy images and loud music. These people still vote and believe it makes a difference, which is the ultimate illusion. Is it hopeless? Well, probably, but this author thinks it is not. He who frees his mind cannot be imprisoned by any government. They can slander him, criticize him, call him a bad American, or even un-American, and he simply does not care because he no longer attaches any values to any of those concepts. He is not self-ego invested in the state, which defines itself as American, and needs no approval from the state to feel whole or complete. It does not take a village, and he's opposing this idea of it takes a village. The state has nothing to offer him, and therefore nothing by which he can be ultimately controlled. If this were not so, the government would not invest vast sums in propaganda and state-sponsored peer pressure efforts to keep the illusion up and running. The state does not fear a revolution. They have enough tanks and men to put one down and enough propaganda to cause the majority to cheer the revolutionaries that stood against and have the revolutionaries stood against a wall and shot or imprisoned in FEMA camps and re-educated circa 1984. What the state fears is being ignored. That's the one thing that tanks and military cannot defeat. Of course, one cannot ignore the state when they tax you. Yes, this is so, but what if we were to define values to what is not the government's currency? Yes, create an underground currency with its own barter system or precious metal buy and sell method. This is a topic for another day. But anyway, what the man is saying is that we are enslaved and locked in by government's ideas. There's the word on the street now, and I say on the street, it's on the internet and financial institutions that there's a crash coming. This crash has been predicted for a decade, and we're now about there. And all the government has to do is stop printing money or print more money, but we are all living on credit. We live on credit. We have no money. We have no gold. We have no silver to exchange for a product. We live on credit. We purchase things at Walmart that is made in China, and we're paying China with no money, and they have scads of no money, American money. What supports it? Absolutely what supports it. And our government is spending, the deficit is so great, the debt is so great. The deficit can be overcome, but the debt has to be paid off, like everybody's debt. If you own a lot of money on your house and you have a car and you have educations to pay for, debt for that, you're in a lot of trouble. And the advice I give you now is to pay it off now. Get that out of there and make yourself debt-free. It's not impossible because I am debt-free. And we saw this coming years ago, and we sleep at night and we have the comfort of knowing that I have the comfort of knowing anyway, what I have is paid for. And my biggest problem is just keep it up and keep the roof from leaking and ruining what few little things I got in there. Some people are telling us, some analysts are telling us to sell everything and convert it to cash. That might be good advice. Hillary Clinton was diagnosed with pneumonia. That is the statement that came from her doctor. Supposedly he is telling the truth, but we also know that anything that comes out of the Hillary Clinton campaign is a lie. She's addicted to it. She cannot help it. She even lies about her lies. We know that. But if you saw the video yesterday, they tell you she stumbled as she got into a car after waiting for that vehicle to come. She didn't stumble. She bloody well collapsed, and they had to pick her up. A policeman on the scene, a New York City policeman on the scene, he tweeted that they threw her in the seat like a piece of beef. Isn't that wonderful? She had a medical episode. I guarantee you there will be no debate between Trump and Hillary Clinton. It did raise the call for transparency, though. And we saw her go, she went into that car in a green jacket, and she came out of her daughter's house in a black jacket, and the little girl came running up and threw her arms around her. Isn't that touching? The only thing that little girl didn't have was a bouquet of flowers in her hand to give to Hillary. The Soviets do that all the time. The Russians love that. Oh, they'll raise a child up and they'll slap a bouquet of flowers in Premier's arms. And he immediately hands it off. You look at the old films from Hitler's day in World War II, before the war, when he was still bringing all power under his umbrella. Children run up and hand him flowers, and then he'd hand them off to an aide. The Russians do that. Dictators do that. Totalitarians do that. This little girl just didn't have any flowers. They did not have enough time to predict that Hillary was going to have to be in that situation. But she came out of that, out onto the street with a big smile. She had probably been given her injection of diazepam and was happy, but she lied again. She says, I feel great. I absolutely feel great. Nothing could be better from the truth. She's lying. She's lying, and we all saw it. We all know it. The Democrats are in fear. They're in great fear, as it turns out, because this woman, their candidate for president, there's no positive prospect that she'll even survive to November the 8th. She could fall over dead any minute. She is surrounded by medicos, and that Secret Service fellow with the injector. They know what her problem is, and I will have to agree that she's probably exhausted, but that's not because she overworks. It's because the work that she does do is incapable. She's incapable of recovering from it because of the state of her health. Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, wrote an opposition editorial, Obama and the True Measure of Progressivism. We'll get away from Hillary now. Make your own minds up on that. House Speaker Paul Ryan writes in an exclusive op-ed that President Obama has a project he was working on. He's trying to destroy America. He wanted to consolidate the federal government's control over key aspects of our lives and prove once and for all that the country would be better off with government telling everybody what to do. Those are my ads. But here's the true measure of progressivism. After 8 years of it, the vast majority of Americans say we're on the wrong track and that there are a number of good reasons to believe this. Because everything's a disaster. We've watched this man go around the world apologizing for Americans and America. Only 8 months after taking office, he took his focus off the economy, and then we're talking about Obama, of course, off the economy, and he put it on what he hoped would be his single greatest domestic achievement, health care reform. He came before Congress and said specifically, I'm not the first president to take up this cause, but I am determined to be the last. Oh, is he? I think Trump is going to be the last. It is clear he saw himself as the latest in the long line of progressive leaders. This certainly explains the sheer breadth of issues he tried to take on, whether it was cap and trade or immigration or gun control. He wanted to lock in progressivism's gains, and let's say Marxism's gains, but his ultimate legacy will be showing the country that progressivism in practice just won't work. Start with the health care bill. Not one Republican signed for it, and some Democrats had to be bribed to vote for it. When he was running for office, Obama promised it would cover every American and cut the typical family premium down to $2,500 a year. Despite the people's clear disapproval, he rammed it through Congress, which was all Democrat-led. 6 years later, there's still 33 million people without insurance, and the average family's premium has risen by almost $5,000 since he became president. Millions of people's insurance plans were canceled. So what about those people? They're not covered anymore. Forcing them to change coverage, and there has been a pronounced consolidation in the industry as hospital chains gobble up small clinics and doctors' offices, and we're experiencing that right here in this Gilmer County. Our hospital is closed. A big chain is going to keep open an emergency room. We have doctors around here now readjusting their formula for seeing patients. And Medicaid and Medicare is not going to cover it. And that is government insurance. And if you think that it's going to work for you, just take a look at the VA system and why it's not working there. It's not just health care anymore. We've also seen consolidation in the banking industry. Since the Dodd-Frank became law, our country has lost, on average, one community bank per day. There are now fewer than 6,500 banks in total, the lowest since the Great Depression. And Dodd-Frank's regulations have not helped the American people. Before Dodd-Frank, 75% of banks offered free checking. 2 years after it passed, only 39% did. A study by the Javelin Strategy and Research suggests that Dodd-Frank regulations fueled a 21% surge in checking fees. But this consolidation is all part of the progressive vision. Free enterprise and local communities are just too messy and unreliable to solve problems. Instead, you need a big government to control big business, both of which must be run by small, select elite, or as we call them today, the experts. This vision is very impatient with the checks and balances of the Constitution. If the experts have settled on the right idea, what's a 200-year-old document to stop them? The Constitution, I mean. This more than explains why the president has routinely run around Congress and tried to enforce his policies through executive orders. And thus, this is the most troubling aspect of his legacy in the slow, steady erosion of self-government. Trump says he'll sweep that all away first day in office. Ted Cruz said he would do it too. So we've got people out there who will sweep these away, particularly those that are unconstitutional. They've got to go. There are plenty more examples which we've been highlighting as part of our Real Obama Legacy project on speaker.gov, if you go to speaker.gov. But what do we have to show for all this? The president likes to brag that we're in the middle of the longest streak of private sector job creation in history. Total bunk, complete nonsense. But what he doesn't mention is that this recovery has also been historically weak. He can point to a low unemployment rate, but it doesn't include the near record 94 million people out of the workforce. For all the tax hikes and reckless spending and red tape, America is not better off. Are you better off? I'm not. I'm only lucky because I managed to get my debt settled. If you haven't settled your debt, you're going to be worse off. In more and more areas of public life, Obama has given government the starring role and pushed the people into the wings. He might consider this a success, but here's the true measure of progressivism. After 8 years of it, the vast majority of Americans say we're on the wrong track. I certainly said I've known it from the very beginning. Marxism does not work. It has never worked. It will not work here. The plan to implement it is working because we have not been paying attention. We've allowed our schools, our colleges and universities to be taken over by Marxists, and that's what they're teaching the children and the students that go there, and you're paying for it with the high cost of education and the debt incurred there. We're in trouble, folks. We need, this election coming up is the important one. Hillary certainly will continue this if she doesn't collapse and bang her head again first. Her vice president, Kaine, what do we know about him? What is his position? How will he run the government? And we vote for her. We're taking a chance on that guy becoming the president of the United States. I can tell you, I believe Trump now. Trump's rude. Trump's crude. But Trump stands up and tells you like it is. And he's the only other candidate there is. Johnson, who thinks Aleppo is the dog food, I think he's gone. I can't. And the Green candidate, she was arrested for some minor infraction and she got a ticket or something. But yeah, we can't have those kind of people mucking up the thing. So with that thought, we'll take another little break and I'll go see the Chinaman and we'll carry on when we're done.
Right now at Pizza Hut, you can get any 2 medium pizzas for $6.99 each. Get any toppings, any crust flavor, anything you want for just $6.99 each. And sweeten the deal with a Hershey's Triple Chocolate Brownie for just $5.99. Only at Pizza Hut.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
I'm Sheriff Dane Kirby, and I'll stand up for you.
I'm Stacy Nicholson, Sheriff of Gilmer County, and I will stand up for you.
Stand up and speak out. No matter how rich, cool, talented you believe yourself to be, how you treat people ultimately tells all. I am Allison Sosby, District Attorney, and I'll stand up for you.
El Rey and Ella J.
El Rey Mexican Restaurant.
Family owned and operated, and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey and Ella J.
Better days ahead.
The summer sell down is on at Days Chevrolet in Jasper with huge savings up to 16% off MSRP. Save over $4,100 off Malibu Limited. Now just $19,500. Save $9,500 on loaded Silverado Crew Cab LT. Now only $38,700. Save up to 16% off MSRP on select new Chevys in stock during the summer sell down. Going on now at Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Better days ahead. Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East Ella-J. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Hello, America. The first ever $5 flavor menu is here, and it's a game changer. For just $5 each, you can get a medium one-topping pizza, Wing Street Wings, a Hershey's cookie, and your other Hut favorites. A Pizza Hut pizza for just $5. It's the ultimate crowd pleaser.
How are you feeling, crowd?
Very pleased, thank you.
We do what we can here.
$5 for a Pizza Hut pizza. How can we not be pleased?
Good crowd today.
The $5 flavor menu, America's best pizza deal, only at Pizza Hut.
Good morning from the office. Welcome back. I'm George McClellan, sitting in for BKP. I'm alone today. I finished with Hillary for a while. This is September the 12th. Yesterday was the great anniversary, 15 years of the September 11th attack, the 9/11 attack on America by Islam. September 12th. What had happened today? Did you know September 12th is the anniversary of the battle, or at least it is thought to be the anniversary of the Battle of Marathon in 490 BC. In that battle, the Greek armies of Athens and her allies defeated a numerically superior invading force led by the Persian Emperor Darius I. The battle provided the inspiration for the marathon race. As legend has it, that a messenger ran the entire 26 miles back to Athens to deliver the news. Behind him, the Athenian army rapidly marched the same road in case the Persian navy circled around to land and attack closer to Athens while they were otherwise engaged. Just a little note, don't we like that? Homeland Chief worries about lone wolf attacks. Well, I'm worried about lone wolf attacks. And I will explain in one of my essays. If you read these things on fetchernews.com and you go to the comments section, and you'll find my contributions. I read some of them here on the radio on this show, and so they're interesting. They're called short takes, and they're short because they're exactly one page long, which has made me a pretty good writer. I think I can sweep away all the nonsense that and the lovely rhetoric that I like to use or have liked to use, and get right to my point and make sense. The former president of France, Sarkozy, he wants to crack down hard on terrorism by detaining suspected Islamic radicals without a trial and creating a special anti-terrorist court. Nicolas Sarkozy, who now leads the opposition party, Les Républicains, told the French newspaper Journal des Dimanche that police should start preemptively detaining anyone suspected of being connected to terrorism. Well, that's self-defense, and he's coming to realize that Islamophobia, or being Islamophobic, is nothing more than being self-aware of what your problem is, of the dangers coming to you. The current president, the socialist of France, he's telling France, be prepared to embrace Islam. That coming from a leader. The current leader and president of France. Sarkozy made his comment after it became public that authorities keep a watch list of 1,500 people thought to be radicalized Muslims. It was previously thought that 10,000 people were on that watch list. Now it's up to 15,000 people. There are no Christians on that watch list, and no Buddhists or Hindus either. Every Frenchman suspected of being linked to terrorism, and he calls them a Frenchman. Every Frenchman suspected of being linked to terrorism because he regularly consults a jihadist website, or his behavior shows signs of radicalization, or he or she is in close contact with radicalized people, must be preemptively placed in the detention center. That very thought is anathema, while it might be true in a police state, is the very anathema of the American Constitution and due process. Our Constitution is based on that, but we are now ourselves in a police state. And we see it happening in all our little states around America. And if you watch YouTube once in a while, and you'll see police officers doing their duty, but trying to extend their ability to do something else, like ask somebody if they can search their car after a traffic stop. There's one in Tennessee. There's a little stretch of that freeway from Nashville to Memphis that goes through a county. The county has started to develop a reputation of being a speed trap. So they stop you. They want you to permit them to search your car on some pretext. You refuse, they'll call for a dog. The dog will come around. The one video I saw yesterday, the police officer pointed to the window, and then the dog jumped on the window. Well, that was their excuse to search that man's car. The dog was given a signal because he passed by the window first, and there was no alert. He didn't alert at all, and marijuana comes right out. So they find, they open the car and they find green leafy material on the floorboards of the car, which was not marijuana. It was grass from the gravesite of their father, who they had just buried. And they used that as an excuse to arrest these guys. Well, these guys weren't taking that. A man and his woman weren't taking that. And so this thing is turning into a nightmare for that county's police department. because they videotaped it. And that's the best defense is the truth. So anyway, be aware of that. So that's not the American way, although we see it happening. We have to resist that every time it happens. But we're back to terrorism now. And I think if a guy's named Muhammad and he's got explosives in his house, that's the time to take him out and lock him up and then start the legal process of due process and observing at least his rights. Sarkozy has called for stronger anti-terrorism measures ever since last November's attack in Paris by the Islamic State. His comments stand in contrast to President Francois Hollande, who said earlier this week that France couldn't bypass the rule of law in its fight against terrorism. Sarkozy also told the Journal that France should create a special anti-terrorism court to handle assaults like the Paris attack and others over the last 18 months, which have caused the death of more than 230 people. The former president, who served from 2007, Sarkozy, to 2012, is hoping to run for president again next year. His party held a controversial meeting in June to discuss the influence of Islam in France. He also criticized the wearing of veils by Muslim women. That's even starting to worry Muslims in their own country because they don't like one another either, the Shiites and the Sunnis. And a couple of jihadists in burqas, faces covered, they approached a site and blew it up, blew themselves to bits. And so now they're even thinking that the burqa should not be allowed. You have to admit it is interesting. There's another thing that's interesting in France. I might as well comment on this. The Moroccans. France occupied Tunisia and Morocco, and they were French colonies. Morocco, however, was composed of tribes of Berbers who are not Arabs, like Iranians are not Arabs. The Arabs swept through that during the great Muslim conquest when they even swept up Spain and made Spain an Islamic country for 500 or more years, 400 years. But the Berbers are not Arabs. And the Berbers who live in France, while being Muslim, don't really cling to that like the Arabs do. And they are the best spy network that the French police have in the Muslim community. I'm not telling any secrets. Everybody knows it. It's been even reported on. But anybody who, to allow people to run around we don't allow Ku Klux Klanners to run around with hoods and sheets because we don't know if they have rifles or machine guns or pistols hidden under their belts, under their sheets. Why do we allow an enemy woman to do the same thing? Who could be a man in disguise for all of that? No, they have to agree with American rules if they want to live here. It's easy to put them on an airplane, cheap. Put them on an airplane, send them home. And America should be in Syria right now, around south of Aleppo, reestablishing camps to put all these Syrians in that Obama is bringing here, 10,000 a month into America. They're doing their depredations in little towns like Twin Falls, Idaho, and the government is forcing local governments to comply with the crimes that these people put out. They want to live by Sharia law, and they want everybody else to recognize that they live by Sharia law. I don't think that's a very good idea. And so anyway, we're in that process where we have a fine line to walk between being what we were originally intended, a country of laws where everybody obeys the law, even Hillary, hopefully, and her husband, Bill, or face the consequences of it. And so America has gone a long, long way beyond what they can do legally. We have some debates coming up. I mentioned that Hillary Clinton can use as an excuse to avoid debating Donald Trump, her illnesses, her pneumonia. Donald Trump said on Monday he thinks his opponents are gaming the system against him, and said the best way forward might be to have no moderator at all. Trump told CNBC that criticism of NBC's Matt Lauer, who hosted a presidential forum featuring Trump and Hillary, is designed to put pressure on the debaters, on the debate's moderators, to be tougher against the GOP nominee. Yeah, I believe that. And that's not a conspiracy, that's just doing politics. Business as usual. The fact is, Trump says, they're gaming the system. And I think maybe we should have no moderator. Let Hillary and I sit there and just debate, because I think the system is being rigged. So it's going to be a very unfair debate. And I can see it happening right now, because everyone's saying that he was soft on Trump, Matt Lauer. Well, now the new person going to try, and he's going to be really hard on Trump just to show the establishment what he can do. The Commission on Presidential Debates has already announced the moderators for the upcoming debates. The first debate is scheduled to be moderated by NBC's Lester Holt. And the second debate will feature two moderators, CNN's Anderson Cooper and ABC's Martha Raddatz. Fox News' Chris Wallace was picked to host the third and final debate between the candidates. I'll bet you they don't happen. I'm convinced they won't happen. Some show will come up, some flim-flam. Hillary will cough herself off the stage and go back and get another shot. I don't know. This is just going to be interesting. The first presidential debate will occur in 2 weeks in New York City. So, we are going to make a slight detour here. Hillary's emails. Well, back to her emails now. We'll avoid her hell for a while. Hillary's emails make for a scandal with staying power. They're not going away. They're simply not going away. A CNN poll last week found that 62% of registered voters believe Hillary's use of private email, while her server, while Secretary of State, is an important indicator of her character and her ability to serve as president. And that should be her inability. Up from 46% in March of 2015, while just 36% said it is not relevant, compared to 52% at the start of the campaign. This headline from the conservative website Twitchy says it all. Hillary's lead keeps disappearing, much like her emails. There are Clinton scandals that date back much further, but they tend to follow a familiar pattern. Republicans and others who are never going to vote for Bill or Hillary in the first place care about them a great deal. Other voters are less concerned, regarding them as unseemly but not salient for voting purposes, or not significant at all. And the Clintons will tell you, well, that's old news. That's already been discussed. Let's move on to something else. That's the way they jump that chasm. Once some controlling legal authority declines to impose consequences, the Department of Justice, the Senate fails to convict after House impeaches, special prosecutors fail to prosecute, congressional oversight stalls, the public concurs that the Clinton defenders' exhortations to move on. Nothing to see here, folks. From Ken the Star to Republican committee chairman, anyone who wants to keep pushing a Clinton scandal past the expiration date becomes an unsympathetic figure or a crazed partisan conspiracy witch hunter. It stood to reason that after the FBI didn't recommend charges against Clinton, the pattern would repeat itself and the public would be sick of hearing about her damn emails, as Bernie Sanders so artfully put it. Instead, there has been a steady drip of raw revelations since FBI Director Comey unsatisfactorily explained his decision, and voters have continued to view Clinton's account skeptically. And we'll get back to this in a minute. It's time for some word from our sponsors. We have to bring in that filthy lucre to keep this show going and pay our staff. So we're out of here. Take us out of here for another break.
Right now at Pizza Hut, you can get any 2 medium pizzas for $6.99 each. Get any toppings, any crust flavor, anything you want for just $6.99 each. And sweeten the deal with a Hershey's Triple Chocolate Brownie for just $5.99. Only at Pizza Hut.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
I'm Sheriff Dane Kirby, and I'll stand up for you.
I'm Stacy Nicholson, Sheriff of Gilmer County, and I will stand up for you.
Stand up and speak out. No matter how rich, cool, talented you believe yourself to be, how you treat people ultimately tells all. I am Allison Sosby, District Attorney, and I'll stand up for you.
El Rey and Elijah.
El Rey Mexican Restaurant.
Family owned and operated, and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey and Elijah.
The summer sell down is on at Days Chevrolet in Jasper with huge savings up to 16% off MSRP. Save over $4,100 off Malibu Limited. Now just $19,500. Save $9,500 on loaded Silverado Crew Cab LT. Now only $38,700. Save up to 16% off MSRP on select new Chevys in stock during the summer sell down. Going on now at Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East Ellijay. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Hello, America. The first ever $5 flavor menu is here, and it's a game changer. For just $5 each, you can get a medium one-topping pizza, Wing Street Wings, a Hershey's cookie, and your other Hut favorites. A Pizza Hut pizza for just $5. It's the ultimate crowd pleaser.
How are you feeling, crowd?
Very pleased, thank you.
We do what we can here.
$5 for a Pizza Hut pizza. How can we not be pleased?
Good crowd today.
The $5 flavor menu, America's best pizza deal, only at Pizza Hut.
Well, welcome back, fun lovers. This is George McClellan welcoming you from the office and setting in for BKP. We were talking about Clinton's email problems, the scandals surrounding her email problems, and I'll finish up my thoughts on that. As far back as last year, 68% of Americans thought that Clinton's emails were either ethically or legally wrong, with fully 28% judging it illegal. It was illegal to use, to pass classified information through it, certainly. By July, most thought she broke the law, and ABC News Washington Post poll found 56%, including 31% of Democrats, disagreed with Director Comey's decision on criminal charges. Clinton's favorability ratings have been tumbling towards new lows, while Donald Trump's has risen a little bit or stayed a little bit. At least she's got a lease on life, cutting the Democrats' lead to just 2.1 points in a four-way national race, and I discount Johnson and the Green candidate. The email scandal is easy to understand. Clinton appeared to be increasing her communication risk of exposure to the Russians or the Chinese, while concealing what Americans were entitled to know under current transparency rules, and reinforces persistent public concerns that she is untrustworthy. Here's a brief history of Bill Clinton's and Hillary Clinton's scandals. We start way back in with Whitewater, a failed real estate venture in which the Clintons' business partners' savings loan was closed for illegal accounting, and who later improperly helped Bill Clinton pay off campaign debts. The Travelgate, well, a lot of us remember Travelgate when the Clintons arrived at the White House, tried to get rid of the travel office in the White House. They didn't want to go. That business was a private business. The Clintons fired him and installed their own guy, their own favorite to run that. The Filegate, hundreds of FBI files on members of past Republican administrations made it into the hands of a Clinton associate, a private investigator who was given this wonderful authority. The cattle futures, where Hillary invested $1,000 in cattle and made nearly $100,000. That was before she was stone broke. The Lincoln bedroom, more than 800 people were invited to spend the night in the Lincoln bedroom and ultimately gave a total of $3.4 million in campaign donations to the Clintons for the privilege of sleeping in the Lincoln bedroom. Lincoln didn't sleep there, that was his office. And of course, we can't forget Monica Lewinsky and all the other women that are now coming out against Bill Clinton. Many of the previous Clinton scandals, like Whitewater, Filegate, Travelgate, the ones I just mentioned, contain a lot of detail that were hard to understand. Others involved sexual behavior. Voters thought should remain in the private rather than the public sphere. Others were still somewhat factually dubious. By the time simple, well-founded scandals most would find publicly relevant emerged, such as the illegal foreign contribution to Bill's 1996 re-election campaign, or the donors sleeping in the Lincoln bedroom, there was a certain Clinton scandal fatigue that set in. Nothing to see here. That's old news. Let's move on. A September 1998 ABC News poll found that 70% thought it was right of Bill Clinton not to talk with prosecutors about the details of his relationship with Monica Lewinsky. 59% thought it was wrong if the prosecutors should ask. The public was even split about whether the testimony made them more or less likely to believe Clinton should leave office. In August 1998, 68% of the respondents told ABC News that Bill Clinton should remain in office rather than resign, and 69% thought Congress should not impeach him. 69% also thought that the investigation into Clinton and his scandals should end. Then by October, CBS News poll found that 64% did not believe. Well, anyway, American public were conned into believing sex is not a public thing by the President of the United States. Concerning Hillary's emails, however, where respondents believe Republicans once were trying to damage her politically, that great white right-wing conspiracy, rather than find out the facts, majorities disapprove of her handling of the situation now. CNN's latest poll shows people's view her as less trustworthy than Trump. While her husband, Bill, was popular, large majorities have an unfavorable view of Hillary. While Bill's arguments that investigations into his contact conduct detracted from his ability to do the people's business, the public seemed concerned that Hillary's scandals will actually hamper her ability to be an effective and ethical president. The Clintons may yet prevail in their second political act, but the electorate just doesn't seem as forgiving this time around. Hillary's not likable. She's just not likable. She doesn't talk to the press. She doesn't communicate. When she does it because she has to. And now her health problems give her the danger of collapsing in front of a camera, and they can't have that. That would be poor. So we have other things that are coming on. We have, on the Hillary scandals and why Jim Comey declined to prosecute, we still have the problem of Congress wanting to know answers and why she was given immunity, basically given immunity. In any event, it's time for my final thought. If you can stand it, we'll get here and bring up what I was talking about a few minutes ago. There we are. Since it's one day after the anniversary of 9/11, and I wrote an essay and put it out yesterday on this. I think I'll read it now. Where do we stand? On this 15th anniversary of 9/11, nothing has changed except all the players have grown older, but not wiser. Make no mistake, 9/11 was an Islamic declaration of war in Western culture, and America in particular. Then we suffered a paroxysm of unity. Islam uses terror as the best tactic because terror spreads fear, uncertainty, and indecision, human traits that finally coalesce into acceptance and submission to Islam. That's the end game. Peace is not in their battle plan. Our current bogeyman is ISIS, a spin-off of Al-Qaeda. The first I in ISIS stands for Islamic. Islam is not territory, except what it can occupy and hold. It has no infrastructure, no international banking system, except what Obama gives it, and no authority except what comes off the pages of the Quran, out of the barrel of a gun, or the sharp edge of a knife slitting the throat. Here is their mission statement. The process, and I quote, the process of settlement is a civilization jihadist process with all the word means. The Ikhwan, the Muslim Brotherhood, must understand that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of the believers, so that it is eliminated and God's religion, Islam, is made victorious over all other religions. Believe it, folks, they are coming to get us. Since 9/11, we are deliberately not wiser. Our political leadership still ignores the Islamic threat pressing down on us, and they still insist that Islam is a religion of peace. Tell that to the 9/11 victims. Even after outrages at Fort Hood, San Bernardino, Orlando, and other places, our current president still insists that derogatory comments made against Islam, his favorite religion, is Islamophobic and constitutes hate thought in violation of federal hate crime statutes. So here we are, 15 years after Al-Qaeda committed the world's worst terrorist atrocity, directly focused on America at New York, Washington, D.C., and a farm field in Pennsylvania, and nothing has changed. The dire threat posed by Islam through terrorism still casts a long shadow over international affairs, Western culture, our inalienable rights, and our daily lives. The threat will remain with us for decades. The loss of territory by ISIS does not mark its demise because of the spread of Islam by jihadism, through terrorism is and has always been an idea. An idea like a cancer virus unchecked that spreads through the body politic, infecting our daily lives, our culture, as well as the minds of our young people. We apparently are our own worst enemies. Christian churches are in decline because the churches have signed on to the left's political dogma that insists Islam is a religion of peace and should be respected. Even the high leaders in the Catholic Church are telling parishioners that they must extend the hand of friendship to our Muslim brothers and show them that they are welcome and we mean them no harm. Well, they'd better grasp both hands when they do, because one of them will be holding that knife. Until people in the West wake up and demand our leaders oppose even the idea of Islamic supremacism, our fears will continue to be realized. If we come to believe, like Obama expects us to, that Western civilization is not worth defending, then we will continue to lose our freedoms. Most of them are gone anyway. As jihadist terror strikes its fear into non-believers and stealth jihadists infiltrate and affect all levels of government and private enterprise, we will still remain at great risk of subjugation. It is sad. Here we are 15 years later and we're still in purposeful denial. How do we kill an inferior ideology with guns and bombs? How can Muslims be permitted dual membership in a society that is a constitutional republic? One does not invite criminals to move into one's house or country without demanding allegiance. Europe has allowed another political system, the Sharia law, into their countries, stupidly thinking it is only a religion of peace guided by personal ambitions. Remember, freedom is the goal and the Constitution is the way. So that is that. Here's an interesting question. I want you to go to your computers and type in this name, Elan, E-L-A-N, Kriegel, K-R-I-E-G-E-L. Who is Elan Kriegel? The most important person on Hillary's team, the mathematician, the statistician and analyst who's putting her program together. The only fly in the ointment for Hillary Clinton is her health. Her health. I'll give you a few words about Kriegel. He determines what cities Hillary Clinton campaigns in and what state she competes in, when she emails supporters and how those emails are crafted, what doors volunteers knock on and what phone numbers they dial, who gets Facebook ads and who gets printed mailers. All those and more have Kriegel's coding fingerprints on them. Trump, on the other hand, disdains statistics, and it might be a mistake. The GOP itself has tried to follow the Democrat lead, but they're too late. We wander around. We're always a campaign behind when it comes to this sort of thing. These people are so far ahead; it's unbelievable. Kriegel used to work for Bill O'Reilly. He would get the talking points that Bill O'Reilly used for or against people he was interviewing on his program. He left O'Reilly years ago. He was hired by the Democrats. And he now is the highest paid person on Hillary's campaign team. The highest paid. That's why Hillary needs all that money in the Clinton Foundation. Kriegel's anodyne title is Director of Analytics, but it's a job that makes him and his team of more than 60 mathematicians and analysts something of the central nervous system for the campaign, charged with sensing, even predicting the first tinglings of electoral trouble, and then sending instructions to everyone on how to respond. Hillary's not a dummy. She might be a crook, and she's definitely a liar, but she's not stupid. When Clinton operatives talk about their data-based campaign, it's invariably Kriegel's data. And perhaps more importantly, his model interpreting that data that they're talking about. It was an algorithm from Kriegel's shop, unreported until now, that determined after the opening states where most every dollar of Clinton's more than $60 million in television ads were spent during her primary campaign. Elin Kriegel, Clinton's director of analytics, who builds statistical models for the campaigns, modeling an ugly Christmas sweater for her online store. It was a photograph that accompanied this article. The tool bypassed by expertise and instincts of her traditional media buyers by calculating the cost per flippable delegate. In the words of one senior Clinton official, and then they spat out what states, television markets, networks, and shows to buy. Obama veterans were wowed by its advancement internally, and some Clintonians saw it as their secret weapon in building an insurmountable delegate lead over Bernie Sanders. They swept him away, and he never even realized it. He never even realized it. Now, with Donald Trump investing virtually nothing in data analytics during this primary and little sense, Kriegel's work isn't just powering Clinton's campaign, it's providing her a crucial tactical advantage in the campaign's final stretch. It's one of the reasons her team is confident that even if the race tightens as November approaches, they hold a distinctive edge. As millions of phone calls are made, doors knocked, and ads aired in the next 9 weeks, it is far likelier the Democrat voter contacts will reach the best and most receptive audiences than the Republican ones. And I think we're getting near the end of this show, and I want to thank you all for watching me. I want you to stay tuned here for Scott's show on behavioral management. Is that good? Yes, he's an expert, whatever. We're not experts. We're having a great time bringing you what we think is important to know. And Scott's show is coming right up here in a few minutes. So with that, I'll bid you farewell from the office. We'll see you tomorrow.